It's a pleasure and an honor to be back here in El Marie Salon in beautiful Bothell, Washington. Do me a favor, give yourselves a round of applause for being here. Thank you so much. Every client has their own particular style. Would you agree with that? Yes or no? Yes. Everyone has their own particular style. Matter of fact, when I look around this room, interesting how no one here has the same shirt on. Every client that walks into the salon and sits in your chair has their own particular style. My question is, are you able to adapt to their style? Interesting, everywhere I go in the world, sandwiches are different. I go to California, and guess what, Sarah? It's 9-grain bread, alfalfa sprouts, avocado, all this healthy stuff in it. I go to the middle, I go to Paducah, Kentucky, and it's bologna and white bread. And then I go to New York, and it's how much meat can they get between 2 pieces of bread. And then when I go to Europe, it's totally different. It's just a tomato and a cheese and some bread, and that's it. So every style of sandwiches are different. It's not about my style of sandwich wherever I travel. It's about me being able to develop my taste and change my taste to adapt to my surroundings. My question is, as a hairdresser, are you able to change your style when every client that sits in your chair? Today, we're going to be talking about that one client that needs a tremendous amount of help, and that is the client that has fine hair. By a show of hands, how many of you have fine hair? Raise your hand. Yeah, take a look at it. If you take a look, raise it up high, raise it up high. Come on, be proud, raise it up high. Nothing wrong with having fine hair. After today, you're going to be happy you have fine hair because of all the things we're going to discover that you're able to do with fine hair. But 60% of North American women have fine hair. This class is going to be all about discovering ways on the how, the what, the when, the why behind fine hair. So it's not about you learning a haircut today. It's about you learning a different way to think and a different way to do when it comes to fine hair. It's a different way of conceptualizing fine hair and how to work with it, because it's a fabric and a texture of its own. It has a mind of its own. So by a round of applause, are you ready to get started? All right, if I could give you some cool ideas and some hot tips on fine hair, would you be interested by a round of applause? Yeah. Awesome, great. Okay. These are some really key things that we need to know about fine hair. First of all, we need to understand that there's 2 types, low density versus high density. The result is, whether it's low density or whether it's high density, the result is limp hair that lies flat to the head. That's how fine hair is defined. But some people have more hair than others. Would you agree, yes or no? Yes. Okay, so let's talk about low density. Let me give you an example now. The movie Robin Hood, Sherwood Forest. All of the trees are this size. Let's say that the trees are 6 inches in diameter or circumference, but they're all the same size. And all of the trees are 10 feet apart from each other. That would be defined as a forest that is low density or high density? Low density, absolutely right, low density. Same tree, 6 inches in circumference or diameter. Now they're 1 inch apart. That would be low density or high density? High density. So now there's 2 types of density, low and high. What we have to understand is we are going to cut low density differently than we cut high density. And we'll talk about that in a moment. We've already talked about how 60% of North American women claim to have fine hair. Raise your hand if you got fine hair. Look around the room. Look how many people in this room alone out of 19 people have fine hair. We're almost close to that margin of 60%. But it's interesting how fine hair, what's the major #1 complaint about fine hair? What is it? Flat, limp. They can't get what? Volume. Thank you. Absolutely right. They cannot get volume. That's their main complaint. So now let's talk about low density, specifically low density. Okay? Low density, short cuts work the best that do not require much volume, or if they want longer hair, it's a longer look that gets its kick from a smooth, shiny surface. Once I start to give low density volume, what happens? We see through it. That's why low density, you don't want a lot of volume. You want to keep the volume minimal. Low density, short haircuts work the best. Imagine if I cut somebody short, low density, and I give them a small amount of volume, natural amount of volume. The moment I start to give them a lot of volume, now you have scalp see-through. You start to see through the scalp. Say yes if you're with me so far. Yes. Okay, awesome. Asymmetrical cuts. Now, I thought this was an interesting stat. Asymmetrical cuts work best on fine hair, especially low density. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. You think about that. It's like, whoa, you're kidding. Why? Because all the attention goes to the what? Heavy side. So now you've taken away the visual effect of it being fine, and you've made the visual thought be their hair is thick by simply cutting asymmetrical. How many of you learned something so far? Isn't that interesting? I thought that was huge in terms of asymmetrical cuts work the best. When we talk about asymmetrical cuts, a lot of our clients might not want to go for an asymmetrical cut. But now we have a strong reason as to why we might want to sell someone on an asymmetrical haircut. Low density, high selling point, asymmetrical cut. Now, based upon the personality, that determines how drastic that asymmetry is. That's where your creativity comes in. Low density, scalp see-through. Now, when I was in beauty school, they told me, they said, fine hair, Sam, the darker it is, the what? Yeah, the deeper the color is, the thicker it looks, right? Right, Whitney? So the idea is, if I have scalp see-through and I color it dark, can you imagine? What did I just create? I just created contrast. Now I got this light scalp and this dark hair. Now you can see the scalp even more. What kind of color works best? Dimensional and a combination of high and low lights work best. Why highlights?
The colors will blend with the scalp. Like if you go lighter, it will...
Excellent. What else does it do, Jacqueline? What else does it do?
Less contrast.
Okay, good. What does it do to the cuticle?
Oh.
Blows it up. Isn't that one of the first things that we say? You need highlights on fine hair. But if I color it too light and overall too light, now all I've done is exaggerate the fact that it's fine. What we need to do is create a combination of low and highlights. So dimensional color works the best. Combination of high and low. Why? To create that good damage, that's right, my friends, good damage for fine hair. You may remember that. But the idea is, with low lights, then I'm creating depth with a combination of my highlights. Now I'm getting a combination of dimensional color, and I'm now making that hair look a little bit thicker, and at the same time, changing the texture of the hair. How many of you with me say yes?
Yes.
Okay, good. So now let's talk about low density, irregular hairline, where their hairline is very sparse. You ever seen fine hair people like that? And what do? They try to what? Camouflage it, cover it up. Those are great clients for a fringe. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to teach them to take their hair out of natural falling position from the crown. We're going to comb it all forward, blow dry it out of its natural fall forward, and we're going to cut a very full fringe. So what we're doing when we take it out of its natural fall, we're actually cutting a full fringe. We are camouflaging the fact that it is an irregular, sparse hairline. So there's times when we break the rules by taking something out of its natural fall and teaching them how to blow dry its natural fall. Why? So we camouflage an irregular front hairline. So remember that. That's a great hot tip to know when you've got that whole concept of an irregular, sparse hairline. Now check this out, high density. Now high density, remember, the trees are closer together in the forest, but they have a lot of hair, but the fact is it's still limp to their head. It's still fine hair. So high density, they can wear their hair shoulder length or longer. Shoulder length or longer, they can afford to. But here's the key thing. Too many layers and the shape will collapse. That's interesting because I was taught in school everything had to blend. But what we have discovered over the years, there are certain areas in fine hair where we don't want to cut and we want to avoid those areas. And there's certain areas that we want to cut. So clients are paying you for the knowledge of knowing what to cut out and what not to cut out. That's critical, my friends. We must understand that. So for my blenders, immediately when it comes to fine hair, guess what you're doing? The art of disconnection. So you're disconnecting areas where the hair is not as thick. Example being, check out the hairline. The hairline grows very low down below. It starts to move up high. So where do I have less hair? In the front or in the back? In the front, absolutely right. So this is an area that you're going to see we are not going to cut out today. Because when we layer this area, you ever notice when you layer fine hair people through here, now it becomes more transparent and we can see through it. So the idea is we do not cut out that area. We detach that area. You're going to see how that's going to work today. So it's interesting knowing what not to cut out and what to cut out. Now this was an interesting stat. When we cut hair, we pull it down and we might cut it nice and blunt. Okay? With fine hair, when we do that, you just encouraged it to spread. Let me repeat that. You just encouraged it to spread. Sam, what are you talking about? Watch this. What we want to do is we want to notch or chisel into the ends. What this is going to do is it's going to gather to help camouflage the fact that the hair is fine. So watch. If I'm pulling the hair down and I've got this, that's all the hair, and I'm holding it in my hand and we're getting ready to cut it, what we're going to suggest we do is that we notch into it. So we notch into it so we get this effect. Now look how this works. Short to long, short to long, short to long, short to long. Short to long, this section gathers, this gathers, that gathers, this gathers. Does that make sense? Now, I have something I have to tell you that's so important to notching. It is all about the angle of the shear. Remember, if I have the hair and we go vertically into it, all you're doing is taking out weight. Remember, you want to go in diagonal, moving your shear across, so you create that angle of short to long, short to long. The purpose of that on fine hair, remember, as we said, it gathers the hair. The most important thing is the angle of the shear. You remember that, and you're going to be successful with notching. Let's get back to the class. So what it does is it makes the hair look thicker. Interesting, isn't it? When we've all been taught, let's keep it blunt, keep it blunt. Yes, I want to keep it blunt, but when you want to cut, we're going to notch into it or chisel into it. And remember, the reason being is what does it do? It gathers the hair, and that's what we want it to do. Here's a very simple little trick for someone that has fine hair. Simply get them into tucking their hair behind their ears. Anytime somebody tucks their hair behind their ears, it looks thicker. Anytime, why? Because you're taking the area that is dense, you're tucking it back into the area that has the mass amount of fullness. So I suggest you verbalize that to your fine hair clients. Let them know you're best off by tucking that so that it gives the illusion of your hair looking thicker, especially summertime. Great little simple tricks like this is what's going to make El Marie Hair Studio the top of the line when it comes to working with fine hair. Now listen to this one, my friends. This is really interesting. Blast or rough dry. We always talk about control your blow dry, control your blow dry. This is one time, once again, where we're going to break the rule. Take the nozzle off the blow dryer. That's right. The nozzle comes off. After years, we've been telling you, keep the nozzle on, keep it on. We're talking about a different fabric where we want to blow up the cuticle. The way we're going to blow up the cuticle is we're going to rough or blast dry it. You're going to do this with no product. Sam, you've always said that product is not an option, it's a necessity. In this particular case, here's the rule with fine hair. And I thought this was interesting. You rough dry it, blast dry it, till it's 80% dry. Then you're going to take your product of choice and you're going to apply it from the back to the front. Can anybody tell me why?
You want to put more product towards the back where there's thicker hair than towards the front.
Absolutely right. Now guess what? This is a general rule anytime we as hairdressers apply product, and we need to get our clients to understand that. You ever watch a client apply a product? They put it in their hand, and what do, Whitney? They're like this. Like this. So they're applying it to the least amount where they have least amount of hair, and then by the time they get to the back, least amount of product. That makes sense. So from now on, we're going to apply from the back to the front. Excellent. Great. With any product. But with fine hair, what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to blast, rough dry, 80% dry, pick up our product of choice. We're going to apply from the back to the front. Then we pick up a round brush and we start to mold and shape the silhouette of the finish. Did that make sense, my friends? Yes. Okay? So the idea is you're going to get more maximum control and volume. We're going to work with a round brush to shape and control. And now let's talk about, well, what kind of product? Here's some verbiage that I want to share with you. How about if you said to a client, let's fatten up. Let's what? Fatten up. Yeah, let's fatten up. Let's fatten up each individual strand so that fine hair looks and feels more abundant. Isn't that cool? Let's fatten. Say that to a client. Let's fatten up each individual strand so that your hair feels more abundant. Okay? Overall, Redken's Body Full. That's where Redken's Body Full comes in because it delivers 2 times the volume. Body Full is the line of choice when it comes to fine hair. So I'm really into the shampoo and the conditioner when it comes to Body Full. One of my favorite ones, though, is the Instant Bodifier. This is awesome. Do you guys like this one? Yes. Why do you like it?
It plumps up the hair.
Awesome, Brittany. It absolutely does that, guys. It fattens up, plumps it up. Now, I like thickening lotion to fatten it up. I'll use Redken's thickening lotion to fatten it up. Now, my mousse, if I'm going to go to a mousse, I'm going to go to Full Frame 07 for fine hair, just to get that extra volume. And we'll talk about that later in terms of how it works and how we work with it. Here are products that we want to avoid when it comes to fine hair. We want to avoid waxes, molding muds, polishers. Here's what we're going to do. Stick to lightweight gels and mousses. What's the key word there? Lightweight. So Sam doesn't say, oh, I've got a great gel for you. It's called hardware. No, I'm going to say, I've got a great lightweight gel for you. It's called hardware 16. Does this make sense? Here's why. Because if I say, well, I have a gel for you, they're going to say, gels are too heavy for my hair, because you've heard it before, haven't you? But if you say lightweight, that's going to spark up the interest. So lightweight gels and mousses. My favorite at the moment is Air 808. Talk about a cream. Talk about a bodifier. Talk about a mousse combined together that gives you a great texture with fine hair. This one is awesome. It's called Air 808. Are you working with this yet? Yes. What do you like about this one? Jacqueline, please.
I like it because it adds a little bit of moisture too, which I think is hard to find for fine hair, to add that, but with volume agents as well. So it has a combination.
Beautiful. Now, when might we want to use this one, especially if you find it adds a little bit of moisture? What do we do when we want to go in with that whole low density, scalp see-through, highlights and lowlights? Now, that is the story on fine hair in terms of hot tips and things that are important for you to know when it comes to fine hair. Because as we talk about, it's a total different type of fabric that we need to know how to work with when it comes to the knowledge, what to share. So Sam, how would I use this information behind the chair? Here's how we're going to suggest that you use this. Anytime you have a fine hair client sitting in your chair, the conversation is every single point that we just talked about. Whether or not, my friends, the client wants to hear it or not. Here's why. Can you imagine that client walking out and she goes to all her friends and says, I finally found someone that knows about fine hair. It's word of mouth in today's world that's going to retain and build your clientele. But it's how you communicate this information that works for you behind the chair. Everybody cool with that? Yeah. How many of you were able to learn one thing during this conversation? Awesome. All right.
You mentioned notching into fine hair. Is that just for the perimeter or for layers as well?
It works extremely well at the perimeter. Because would you agree with me? At the perimeter, that's when you can really detect people have fine hair. Now, could I notch inside? By all means, you could notch inside. What we don't suggest you do is point cut into fine hair. Because then when I point cut into a deep or even shallow, look how I'm point cutting, now I've made those ends finer. But if I notch, now I've made them gathered and thicker. Did that make sense? Now, especially, this is great, guys. This is awesome. Because especially if it's high density and I'm putting some layers into the top and the crown area, guess what I'm going to do? Notch into them. You're not going to find me too much going into and just cutting blunt, solid lines. Okay? Round of applause for the question. Great question. Thank you, Jacqueline. Okay? Another question? Another observation? Katie.
So Jill and I were discussing with lower density hair, you were saying to keep it shorter, or shortcuts. What would be a good verbiage that we could use to I guess, convince our guests? Because most of them, I would think, want to keep their hair longer.
Okay.
So.
Now, first of all, let's clarify something, Katie. I really respect your courage on this question. Because it is not, allow me to repeat this, it is not our responsibility to convince our clients to do anything. Let me repeat that. It's not our responsibility to convince our clients to do anything. It's our responsibility to, as a salon professional, to share with them the knowledge of what we have, so therefore they can make their decision based upon their priority. So I would say to that low density client that you have, I want to tell her exactly everything that I just walked you through. I'm going to tell her all of that. Whether she wants to hear it or not, I'm going to control the conversation at the chair. And we're going to talk about fine hair, and allow me to give you some hot tips and share with you some knowledge on fine hair. So I tell them all of that. Then at the end, I'm going to tell her it's best if you wear your hair short because of the low density. So I want you to discover, walk away from here, and next time let me know, what's the priority? Long, or is it that you want to hide the fact that you have fine hair? If you choose to wear it long, and because you have low density, it's going to be best if it's worn smooth, sleek, and simple. The moment we give it expansion and volume, boom, you've given it away that you have fine hair. You're better off if we go short, and I'm talking twiggy-ish. I'm talking Sharon Stone, but it's worn close to the head with just a soft touch of volume. That's what I would professionally recommend that works for you the best. Yet, it is your choice that you are most comfortable with that I am willing to do. As a salon professional, I want you to know what your choices are. So, Katie, that's the conversation that Sam would have with that particular client. I want you to remember something, Katie. It's your responsibility to share your knowledge, but it's never your responsibility to convince someone into something. Let them make the choice based upon the knowledge that you shared with them. Great conversation. Give her a round of applause. Great question. Okay, I believe we had another question. Any other discoveries? Lori.
Just a comment. I think the biggest thing for us to remember is that we're going to classes to get educated on how to educate our guests. And so when we're standing behind the chair, that's the biggest thing. I want to let them know what their options are and educate them and tell them what I know to be true. And then they can choose where they're going to go with that and whether or not to run with it.
You know what's so great about that, Lori, and thank you for that, is the fact that eventually I keep sharing all this knowledge. Eventually they're going to come around to my side. And they're going to say, you know, you've been talking to me about taking my hair short for a long period of time because of low density. You know what? Today I'm ready to do it for whatever reason. So therefore, that choice would only be happen, Lori, because you chose to be the salon professional that shares with them the knowledge that you have, so eventually they can make the proper choice. It's all based upon their priority and where they're at in their life at that particular time. Round of applause on the comment. Thank you, Lori. Hold it. Stop right there. Now, I don't know about you, but that was some valuable information. Think about that. Low density versus high density. 60% of North American women have fine hair. 60%! That's more than half of your clientele. So I want you to understand what you just heard is valuable information. Now I challenge you to take that information, and when you have a fine hair client sitting in your chair, that's what you talk about. Why? When they walk out of that salon, they're going to be talking about you and saying, Nancy, I finally found someone that knows about fine hair. You have to go see this hairdresser. That's important. So you use this information. Remember, 60%. Imagine that. Now let's get back and have some fun learning step 1. Let's talk about another way that you could go in and you could cut this tilted horseshoe on top. Now remember, these techniques that we're sharing on top are not strictly just for fine hair, although the topic has been all day about fine hair. But what I want to do is show you another way. For example, there were 4 triangles on top on the first version that we showed you. What we want to share with you now is how do I incorporate more texture into this, Sam, in a very disciplined sort of way and with integrity. Now we're going to work to the top. This time, what's critical is your sectioning, so pay close attention to this sectioning. We're going to start and we're going to locate the center back of our horseshoe. This is critical because this is going to set up what's going to look like an odd kind of a triangle, but you watch the way it's going to sit and what it's going to do. So we look for center back, all the way through, center back. Okay. Once I located center back, I want you to just lift your right hand up and go like this. Excellent, good. Now look at your knuckle, your thumb. Bend your thumb so it's like this. From the knuckle of your thumb to the tip of your thumb, not the tip of your fingernail, the tip of your thumb is approximately very close to 1 inch. Always remember that. It's a good way to gauge length when it comes to hair. So what we're going to do is we're going to locate the center of our horseshoe section. Once we locate that center, we're going to go to the left side. So I'm going to take my tip of my thumb at the center, the knuckle of our thumb, and then from the knuckle of our thumb, we're going to locate that point of reference. Say yes if you're with me so far.
Yes.
Okay. From here, we're going to draw a diagonal line that goes forward, that goes to approximately just behind the ear. This now has made a kind of an interesting rounded triangle if you look at it. It's very narrow on this side. So it's very narrow here on this side. But if you come over to the other side of the horseshoe, look how it's gotten wider. What doesn't make it look like a triangle is the fact that this is rounded. Ignore the fact that that is rounded. If it was square, then you would see that this would make a triangle. Okay? This is going to be isolated, and you're going to take your clip, and I want you to isolate this section with the legs up so that the hair is captured into the clip. Now we're going to step to the opposite side. We're going to comb the hair in to our body on the opposite side. We're now going to take another point of reference where this triangle left off. Say yes if you can see it. Yes. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to come right back across to the opposite side, drawing a horizontal line right across. Can you see this made another triangle? So now what's happening is I've got a slightly rounded triangle in the back, and now as I've come to the front, the next triangle in front of that is a true triangle. Yes or no? Yes. Okay, good. We're going to take our clip, and we're going to isolate this one with the legs up. Okay? Now we come to the front. When we come to the front, we're going to take another triangle. We're going to comb all of this hair up and over to us. We're going to take off where that point of reference left off. We're going to come through, go diagonal forward to the corner of the eye. Where to? So we go from here, this point, approximately to the corner of the eye. Can you see that that just made another triangle? Okay, so how many triangles do we have so far? Three. This is going to be our fringe area. So we're going to come through, and we're going to clip this up. Okay, this is the fringe area. We're going to leave this alone for now. Take a clip, and we're going to clip this up. So let's take a look at the sectioning on the board and see what we just did and what we just created with the sectioning. Okay? What's interesting is we started approximately locate the center. So we locate that center back. We go approximately knuckle to the tip of our thumb. That sets up the point of reference where we start to draw the diagonal line forward to where? To slightly just above the ear. Thank you, Michelle. So we go slightly to just above the ear. Can you see I'm slightly just behind it? Not right on top of it, but slightly behind it. Say yes if you're with me. Yes. Okay? From here now we move right across to the other side of the ear. Now we've created two triangles so far. We come from here to the corner of the eye. Thank you, Katie. We go right to the corner of the eye. So we get three triangles. Triangle number one is kind of rounded. Triangle number two, truly a triangle. And triangle number three, a triangle. 4 is our fringe area. Now we're going to start in the back. We're going to start where? In the back. In the back area. Razor with fine hair is incredible because it changes, it alters the texture of the hair, the texture of the fiber, and you get a lot more response out of it. In most cases, fine hair people are looking for volume on top. This is going to enable the top to pop a lot more. So now watch what's going to happen. We're going to take the back triangle. So we're taking triangle number 1 in the back, that first triangle that we created. Once we have that triangle, we're going to elevate that triangle 90 degrees. So it's going to be elevated 90 degrees. Look where I'm going to stand. I'm going to stand on the opposite side. So I'm taking everything from the narrow side of the triangle and I'm combing it to the wide side. Say yes if you're with me. Yes. Okay, so I take this section. I'll bring her head down slightly so you can see. We're going to move this clip out of the way so you can see the degree of angle. Okay, now watch what we're going to do. See how I'm taking all of this triangle and I'm combing it over to me. From the base of the triangle, the elevation is 90. Can you see by bringing this over, I've almost made another triangle on itself in terms of the way the hair is elevated. Now we come through, we comb underneath. We're going to lift back up. Now we're going to hold this up. Now we need to establish our guide. So where do you want this hair to fall? I'm going to make it even with her eyeball. So can you see I dropped that? So my finger is even with her eyeball. That is going to be the guide for my length. Could I have made this longer if I wanted to? Yes. Could I have made it shorter if I wanted to? Yes. Excellent. So it's your creative choice again, once again, where you position your hand regarding length. We stand on this side. Elevation is vertical, 90 degrees. We're going to use the eyeball as our length. There it is there. That's my length. I come back up. Visualize that length. Now let's talk about the razor. We want to get nice medium to long strokes on this. So if my hand, hold my hand where I want the length, can you see when I go deep, now I'm taking it too short to long. Did that make sense? So you need to visualize with a razor. A razor is a very emotional tool and a visual tool. So watch the action of it now. I'm going to tilt the client's head towards me. That allows me to work a lot more comfortably. So what we're going to suggest to you, my friends out there, is before you put yourself in an uncomfortable position, listen to what Sam's about to share with you. We're going to put our clients in an uncomfortable position. Why? Because they come in every 4 to 8 weeks. We do this every day. So I'm going to have them put their elbow on the chair like this, rest. It makes it easier for me to get to the degree of elevation. But I have to make, no matter where the head position is, that is elevated 90 degrees into position in relation to the position of the head. Did that make sense? Now the razor comes in. Keep the razor flat. So see how it's flat? I didn't turn the angle or anything. What I'm going to use is I'm going to use the pressure of my hand moving across that line to release the hair. Next thing we need to be aware of, that's my guide, so that's my visual cutting line. Now watch my left hand. My left hand slides out. Now that just gave me room to move my razor in an angle. But look how it's always cut short. Okay, come back to the position of where I was. Can you see that? Okay, so now once I get towards the back, look at my left hand. It rolled to a fist. Why? So I maintain my tension all the way through. Now I've been able to create a textured edge that's textured. What I don't want to do is slide my hand out as I'm cutting with the razor. Then we're going to be going from short to what? Long. So this triangle has been cut. This triangle, it lays itself down. Ignore this triangle. You want to leave it alone. Here we go. Second triangle. Would you agree that this went way over here, so this is too what? Long. Good. So what's my guide again? Eye. So I use her eye again. So I'm going to position her straight up first. Notice how I'm taking this triangle all the way over to here. So let's talk about this. Look at the triangles. You have a wide side and a narrow. Good. Can you see I'm taking all of the narrow side to the wide? So the wide is being lifted straight up 90, so that is the shortest. As the hair moves down, it gets what? Longer. So more mass of hair in the triangle is shorter, and less mass of hair is longer. Now listen to this. If I had thick hair on the top, which side would you stand on?
The thicker side.
Excellent. Thank you, Brittany. Absolutely right. I'd stand on the thicker side. If I had fine hair, listen to this. If I had fine hair, low density, which side do you stand on? Absolutely right. Guess why? Less mass of hair is getting what? Short, and more mass is getting what? Longer. Sometimes you need more length on low density to cover up areas. Did that make sense? How many of you learned something? So once again, here we are. You're not learning a haircut. You are learning a different way of thinking and a different way of doing. Different way of doing. Absolutely right. A different way of doing. Now let's go back to the second triangle. Watch this now. So I have less mass of hair coming over to more mass. This is shorter. This is progressively getting longer. If I took it this way, I have less mass of hair short and more mass of hair getting longer. Okay? Moving it over, narrow, too wide, and I'm going to tilt her head. Can you just tilt your head a little bit right here? Put your arm on the arm of the chair, and up, and now her eyeball is my length. There it is there. And I loosen up my mindset, my friends, when I do this. I'm not about this being perfect. All I want is a nice sense of balance. Here we go again. Razor goes what? Flat. Slide my hand out. Maintain my tension, and let the stroke, the pressure of it working across, work for me. Okay, now this triangle is cut. This goes away. Okay, now we come to the next triangle. Okay, my third triangle. So we're taking triangle number 3. We're standing on this side. So Sam, you are standing on which side? The wide side. So I stood on the wide side, wide side, wide side. So now we come to this side, and we stand on the wide side. So we release this. This is our fringe. Okay, This comes up and over, up and over, and up and over. What's my guide again? Her eye. So I slide down to her eye. There's her eye. There's my length. There's my length there. And want to tilt your head over again for me, please? Thank you. Okay, here, straight up. Razor comes in. And medium to long stroke. Work my way across, roll my hand, and make a fist. Now I've created chaos, a controlled chaos. Short to long, short to long, short to long, short to long. So what's happening is I'm getting more texture. Watch how this one will have shorter degrees of length and have a lot more texture going on top than the previous way that we showed you how to cut a horseshoe. So you got two different ways you can go in utilizing cutouts. Cutouts of triangles, cutouts of triangles, cutouts of triangles to create the volume. Now, before we cut a fringe, we're going to dry this. That's critical. And once again, we're going to apply our product. What's our product of choice again that we've been working with? Aerate. Okay? Aerate 08. 08 is the control. The higher the number, the more control we have. Okay, so we're going to go through and we apply it from where to where? Back to front. Even when we're working on the top of the head, the back area of the head, the top of the head, we apply back to front. Because some people, most people, they're a little bit more dense as they move to the front area. So we work back to front. Do not apply product into what you've already blow dried underneath. Remember, as you blow dry as you go, be aware of what you've done. Do not wet it down again. Do not over apply product into that. And now we simply go in and wrap dry. Everybody cool? Yeah. All right, to the do area. So now here we are in the do area. Let's take a look at the sectioning on the triangles that we just talked about, okay? Here we go. We're here with Sarah. She's locating the center. Now she goes up to that center. Now she's gonna go left of center in this particular case. She's gonna locate her point of reference. Once she finds her point of reference, she's gonna go diagonal forward to just slightly behind the ear, okay? Now she's gonna take a clip and she's gonna isolate that legs up. Okay, so she isolates that, legs up. Now she's gonna come to the opposite side. She's gonna do the same thing. So she's gonna continue with this point of reference. She's gonna slightly go forward, diagonal forward now. Okay, so slightly diagonal forward.
What's the importance of legs up?
Legs up, because watch this. Great question. Question is, what's the importance, Sam, of the clip with the legs up? Watch this. If I apply this clip legs down, can you see the clip doesn't close all the way? Look at the hair already. It's starting to slide out. See that? So you're better off taking this section legs up. Okay? So now look how this section came diagonal forward. Where does it go to? It goes slightly just at that ear area. Perfect. You're doing awesome, Sarah. So now she takes another clip. She's going to clip that up. So what we're going to suggest is, if you were going to cut on the fine side, then you clip to the fine side. Did that make sense, ladies? Okay? So in other words, put your clip on the side that you're going to stand on and cut. That's your reminder. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay? Okay, now, where does this one go to? This one goes to the corner of the eye. Now, that's too much of a fringe. So what am I going to suggest she do? She's going to close that down and bring it more forward to the corner of the eye. Okay, let's take a look at this one now. Okay, good. All right, come back here. Give me a little bit more of a wider start of that angle. Okay, good. Awesome. Perfect. Good. Now, this is going to be her fringe area, and this is going to be her last triangle area in that section there.
Now, Sam, why was it too heavy?
I just noticed that when there was too much thickness in that fringe, could I have left it like that, Brittany? Sure. But there's a particular look that I'm going to go for in this fringe. Could you have left it like that and say, I want a full fringe? Why? What particular case would you want something that's really full?
When you have ultra fine hair that's not as strong.
Excellent. When you have ultra fine hair and it's not a lot, and you want to camouflage that like we were talking about, then that's when I would maybe narrow this angle down. That puts more hair in that fringe area.
Okay.
Okay? Sarah's going to go after her first section. Now, make sure that elevation, give me that elevation up a little bit higher right there. And then recomb to that position, up a little bit, take the comb underneath, recomb up. Notice how you're combing underneath to get the degree of elevation, especially when you're going to elevate something 90. So she's tilted the head slightly. So there we go, there's your 90. Now go in after it. She's established her length. That's her length. We're going to slide that left hand out. Now, that razor is going to cut right there each time that you cut that. Visualize that, and off you go. Good, nice, nice. You're getting longer. Look where she's at. Get back down here where you need to be. There, there. Get back down here where you need to be. There you go. So you see, Sarah, what was happening is the razor started to do this, come out to an angle. Watch the angle. I'll guarantee you it goes, look at it, short to long, and then I got you back where you needed to be. Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, Sam, is there anything wrong with this? No. I would leave that. Why? That's awesome texture. What do we do with this triangle now?
Leave it out.
We leave that out. We do not touch that one again. We go after triangle number 2. Which side you going to stand on now?
That side.
Beautiful.
Right side.
Here we are with Whitney. Let's take a look at the second triangle on our pattern that we're working with, okay, up in this top horseshoe. Remember, Whitney, your elevation is 90, straight up for that base. Once again, she's going to drop her hand, measure where that eyeball is. That's critical. So you can just see where she's going to eyeball that, slide back up to where it was. Good. She's ready to cut. Okay, good. Her razor goes into that position. It stays flat and parallel. Now she's going to slide her left hand out. She's going to stabilize that hand right there. Now she's going to come in, and she's going to start to, every time, come back to the same position. It's so critical. Watch this. I'm going to release. Look how she keeps coming back to that same position. Okay, now be nice and soft, a little bit more aggressive. Good, excellent. Good. Nice, clean razor. She's not changing the angle. She's keeping it nice and soft and delicate, letting the razor do all of the work. This triangle now gets put away. And that was awesome. Okay, now, okay, make sure you wet that down, and then lay it down, and then now you're going to stand on this side, and you're going to go after this triangle, same degree of elevation. So we go third triangle, same thing now. Look for the eyeball, release this. Look how well she stays in control, releasing these triangles. That's so important. Sometimes we pick up the other previous triangles that we've cut. Now you're over texturizing. You're just really going in. Thank you. Okay, up. Good learning lesson there. Tilt the head. Make it comfortable for you when you're behind that chair. Okay, straight up, 90. Okay, and razor goes in. Beautiful. Eyeball it, and off you go. Beautiful. Beautiful. Couldn't be better. Awesome. All right, now you're ready to blow dry. You're going to take your ponytail out, you're going to apply your aerate on top, and you're going to wrap dry. Okay. I want you to set the fringe up. Give me a nice and flat, nice and flat. All right, cool?
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's review it together as a group, all right? So let's take a look at our sectioning. So what do I need to look for first in the sectioning? What's one of the key things we need to look for?
The center back.
Center back. Absolutely right, Sarah. Thank you so much. Locate center back. Then how far over do we move to the left? So you're going to use your knuckle and your thumb as a measuring tool. From that point of reference, you're going to go diagonally forward to approximately just behind the ear. Then from there, you come right across, somewhere in the middle of the ear. Then from there to the corner of the eye. Remember, do not cut this area. We cut our fringes when they are dry. That way you can judge the length accordingly. You can set yourself up to succeed on that. Now let's take a look at how we actually cut this. What was my degree of elevation? 90. 90 degrees vertical. So we're going to stand on the wide side. If I had fine hair, which side would we stand on? Narrow side, because that way you're maintaining more mass of length longer. So remember that. Yes, please, Jessica.
I am wondering, if you say that you need to stand on the narrow side for fine hair, do you mean all fine hair or just low density?
I would go low density.
Okay.
Well, high density, I can afford to stand on the wide side. Why? Because there's more mass of hair. Okay, more mass of hair, not even on just this side, through the entire head. Remember, with low density, sometimes I don't want to take it so short, I want to leave it longer so I can move it and cover up areas. Does that help you out?
Yes, it does.
Thank you, Jessica. Yes, Katie?
What would happen if you took and made it into like 6 triangles?
You tell me, what would happen? Who said that? Brittany?
More texture.
Absolutely right. Think about this. I could make my triangles as small as I want. Can you imagine short to long, short to long, short to long, short to long, short to long? So you're creating more chaos. But I want you to understand is this is discipline type of chaos. It is not just picking up and slicing it like I used to, or just going in and weaving it and cutting it. or going in and cutting short bits inside. What I love about this, short to long, short to long, short to long, is giving you more response. Not only that, but if I blow dry this smooth, guess what I get? I get more texture, more movement out of this, rather than keeping it symmetrical and then busting it up symmetrically. Did that make sense, guys? Yeah. It's so important to me that you get this. How cutouts on the top allow you to take out, remove hair where you want to remove it, maintain length where you want to maintain length. Look how we used triangles in the bottom. Look how we used 4 triangles on top, and now how we used 3 triangles on top, going from short to long, short to long. More triangles, more texture. Katie.
So if you could you vary like could you do like the second triangle, one big one, and then could you break up like T1 and T3 into a whole bunch of little ones?
Oh my gosh. Do me a favor. Give Katie a big round of applause. Because I just learned something. Why not do that, right? So can you imagine you got texture and then big clump of texture. Texture, big clump of texture. Why not? Why not do that? Absolutely right. Okay. You're good. You want to teach the class? I saw a hand over here. Yes, Holly.
If I have a guest come back in and they love this haircut and they want it again, how would you approach that?
Excellent. One of the things that we have found that detachments, disconnections are a lot easier to recut than texture is. If I texture someone like this, it's difficult for us to recut those short hairs inside, isn't it? And when we do is we want to please them, so if they say, I love what you did on top, Sam, would you do it again? Can you see that it's difficult for me to pick that up? So now I try to texturize them to make them happy. Now I've got 30 short little hairs trying to hold up 2 short hairs. It just doesn't work. With detachments like this and cutouts like this, it's a lot easier to recut. So for example, watch this. If I take this back triangle and I simply comb this up, what do you think is going to drop out? It's going to be this triangle that sits right here in the center. This is all going to drop out. So that's going to be a lot easier for me to recut. Can you see how that's dropping out already? Same thing on top. Get your horseshoe and don't be concerned. Do I have to be right on this line, right on this line? You go in with your pattern and you're going to be fine. Okay? You're just going to loosen the shape up more as you go, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Worst case scenario, you grab 3 extra hairs.
Yeah, exactly. I would rather do that than this, and now I've over-texturized somebody. This is a lot easier to over-texturize somebody. Personally, if you want to lose a client, over-texturize them. I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it. Okay? So disconnection, cutouts are a lot easier to recut. Okay? Questions? Please, Jacqueline.
Okay, so I'm kind of having a hard time visualizing, so thicker hair, you stand on the wide side, and then finer hair, you're standing on the thinner part of the triangle. Is that correct? Okay.
Absolutely right.
Okay, got it.
Okay, now that's the recommendation. Could I break the rule and do it the opposite way? Sure you could. Find out what happens.
But the goal is to obviously leave more hair behind because they don't have a lot.
That's correct.
Okay.
Remember that. Remember, let the density, let the texture, the fabric tell you what it can and can't do, just like a fashion designer. A fashion designer understands the limits and capabilities of silk. So we must understand the limits and capabilities of fine hair. It has its limits and its capabilities. People try to force it to do something it doesn't want to do. People cut it the same way they were taught when they have to understand you need not to cut out sections. Now check this out. Look at this. She works in a waitress. She's a waitress. She works. She has to be able to pull her hair back. Can you see that I don't need to cut this fringe area? But look at this. Look what she's got on top. And she's still got her hair what? Long. So she could take this, move it to the side, move it to the middle, and she's got this going on, and she could pull this back, pull this up, do whatever she wants. So can you see there's no limitations on this. You've got a lot of areas that you could go into. Now we're going to go in and we're going to awaken the shape. What do you think awakens a shape? That's right. Thank you, Sarah. A fringe awakens a shape. So we're going to go in on this one. We're going to cut a tilted cutout fringe. Now this has double identity. So we're going to locate the left side part. Okay. There. And look where I'm looking at. See how I'm looking at some of this hair that comes into her eye? I need to get some of that into my fringe, incorporate it into my fringe. See how I push up and I let it fall? I see, okay, all of this needs to come, all of this needs to come into that fringe. There's her left side part. Now look how that naturally wraps and falls around the corner of her eye. Okay, now we're going to come in, we're going to take our thumb again. We're going to bend it. We're going to look for our 1 inch. We're going to place the knuckle right at the hairline. We look where the tip ends. There's the tip of my thumb. From there, I go diagonal forward. So can you see I just narrowed my fringe area out? I just narrowed that out. So we're going to go here to there. We go diagonal to the corner of the eye. Now can you see I've actually made another triangle, much smaller triangle. But first, before we cut that, we have to see if I let this fall, does that fall around her eye? See how I'm looking at that? I'm seeing how that falls. Love the way it falls. So I'm going to take this area, this goes back. Now a couple things about fringe. Highly recommend that you cut them so that they are dry because you can judge the length accordingly. Number 2, if you have an erratic growth pattern, you're going to blow dry with the fine teeth of the comb. The fine teeth of the comb will compress the hair more. It's going to give you a lot more control. 2 key things to remember there. Now let's go through, let's look at this fringe, see how it falls. We're going to take this area, and we're going to clip this area back and away. So this gets clipped back and away. Now we're going to come through and we're ready to cut. Always ask when you cut a fringe, ask the client to close their eye. Number 1, would you agree with me it's a fragile area? You cut it too short, they get upset, there's hair going in their eyes, the whole bit. Just have them close their eyes. So I'm going to ask you to close your eye, Erica, and you need to sit straight up. I'll give you a helpful tip to make sure that you know they are sitting straight up. Take your comb, place the comb, and put it right underneath their chin. The comb should be parallel with the floor. That's how they walk around in their world. Okay, that's their world, how they see their world. Okay, they don't walk around like this and they don't walk around like that. So make sure you have that head in the proper position. That was a little tip to give you an idea on how to get to that proper position. So I'm going to ask that she closes her eyes. I went in and actually flat ironed this a little bit. Now watch how I did this. What I did was, the comb can take heat. So one of the easiest ways I found to flat iron is take the comb in, take the flat iron, go right over the comb like this, and now just bevel the comb and do this. So now what you're doing is you're getting a little bit more bevel with it so that you're not going to get so much a flat iron mark. That comb acts as a protector and it just gives you the source of heat that you need so you get a little bit more bend. Just a cool way to do that, okay? So this goes away. Now we come through into the fringe area. And I want to cut this fringe so it has double identity. And I'm going to cut this. Here's your hot tip now for my friends out there. You leave the fringe actually longer than they say they want it. Always do that. At least a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch. Why? Because when they blow dry their fringe, you ever watch them blow dry? They go like this. When they blow it up like this, there's a gap in here when you look at profile. Now their fringe just shortened about a 1/2 inch and they think you cut it too short. If they blow dried it flat in its natural falling position, they would see it was cut right at the length that they requested. So I always like to leave it a little bit longer than what they say, because knowing that they're going to blow it the way that they think they should. So I come in, and my comb comes in. I go right to where I want to go to. So I'm going to go in, and I'm going to come in right at that eye level. That's where I'm going to take this one. Okay, let's talk about a flat iron. It's the principle of heat that changes and alters the way hair moves. Okay, that's why heat's our best friend. It's only our best friend when we're in control. When you lose control of heat, it's no longer your best friend. So what it does, heat pulls the bonds apart. When we allow it to cool, they stay in that position. Let me give an example how important the heat is and to understand it. Lori, do you trust me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Hold your index finger up. Okay, now close your eyes. Okay, now you tell me, Lori, when you feel heat from this flat iron.
I feel it.
Do you really feel it?
Yes, I
Do you really feel it?
Sam, I feel the heat.
Okay, good. Now, you can open your eyes, Lori. Did I close the iron? No. Now, watch me flat iron. I just blow dried this. Now, watch me flat iron this. And then you tell me, is my iron really closing? Watch this. Let's go this direction so that you can see. Now, watch. Because it's heat. Watch this. How much do you think I'm compressing? Very little, if little. Look at the heat's there. All I'm doing is just rolling now. Did you see that? Okay, we get ourselves in trouble because we come in and we go, and then we do this. Now you got a mark there and you're trying to get that out. Did that make sense, guys? Look at the bevel I'm getting out of this. Watch. Look at how light I am with my compression, and I'm not even really closing this. Now watch the shape of that. Watch it roll. See the difference? So I want you to understand the principle of heat and how important it is. Now let's go to the fringe. Once we have that fringe there, we've got our section, we're ready to come in and cut. close your eyes for me, please. Make sure the audience has her eyes closed. Okay. Now we're going to come in, and I'm going to come in, and I'm going to take this probably to about her eye, right there. So I lift with the shear. Her eyes are closed. Keep your shears closed. Shear slides underneath. You go with the wide teeth. Which teeth? Wide. Now watch my comb. Comb sits flat to the forehead. Shear goes on top, pushes the hair inside the teeth. Now I turn and rotate the comb. Allow me to demonstrate that again. Your hand goes in with the shear, goes right across, lift everything up, slide it flat. Wide teeth, less tension. Bring the shear on top, fold, and now bring it to the level that you want. Work with a white comb on dark hair so you can see the line you're going to cut. Now I see that right there. That's where I want that. That's all tapped in. So I got the same degree of elevation all the way. Now I come through. Look at the shear. It's flush right up to the comb. And in one cut, I've been able to create the fringe that I want. Now watch this. Now that haircut's been awakened. So when I let this down, now look at the character it has. What kind of identity are we looking for? Double identity. So what we want is we want double identity. So now I'm going to teach her, when you go to work, you go to a right side part. What kind of part? Right side. Right side. So she goes to a right side, she combs this over, blow dries it over, and now her fringe is lost. Okay? Okay? When she goes out tonight, then she's going to go like this. So now her fringe is what? It's exposed. So now she's going to go out, she's going to do that. So this is what I'm talking about, something have double identity. Sam, what makes this work? You're probably wondering what makes it work. It's a cutout fringe. What kind of fringe? Cutout. Cutout. So it's cut out, but it's cut out in a triangle. It's the triangle that gives it its double identity. How cool is this one? Awesome, okay? All right, any questions on that first fringe? Any questions at all? Brittany, please, question.
How would you incorporate that fringe, that triangle fringe, if you weren't doing the rest of the haircut?
Beautiful. Great question. Watch this. Could I put the triangle, that cut out triangular fringe on Whitney right now? Yeah. You bet I could. All I'm going to do is leave everything else alone, look for this, go there, go here, take it out, cut it, and then boom, she's got it. Okay? Could I do it here? She's almost got it. Could I do it here? Yes. Could I do it here? Yes. 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 Something else? We got to chat because it looks like you might have some natural movement. Yes, natural movement. Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Yes, but might have some natural movement. We'd have to chat. Yes, you could do it on you. Yes, and yes. So could you see you could do it on anything? I don't want you to think, so do I have to go through those whole triangle things to get that fringe? No. What you just learned there was another trick on how to cut a double identity fringe.
Awesome.
Cool? Okay, Katie, question.
So I feel like a lot of my guests are questioning whether they should or shouldn't get a fringe. So can you maybe help us out or give us a pointer of who would, I guess, look good in fringe, or what kind of haircut that would go with? Or?
You bet I could. All right, let's talk about that for a moment. Fringes. One of the key things about fringes awaken a shape. Okay, would you agree with me that if a one-length client came into here and she says, I want something different, but then when I start talking to her, she doesn't want anything different. But the one thing I'm going to do to change her was going to be her fringe. Okay, now listen to what I'm about to tell you. Side sweeping fringes are the easiest to sell. Why? Because they're the easiest to grow out. Why? Because they're most flattering. Blunt, heavy fringes that are square like this are the most difficult to sell. Why? Because they're difficult to grow out. So if a client says that to me, my response is, Katie, let me know when you want to grow it out. All I have to do is take the corner off on one side, and then it becomes a side sweeping fringe. They do not want you to cut their fringe when they're growing it out. They just leave it alone. It keeps growing out like this, and they keep doing like this. When all they have to do is let you cut the corner off, and now it's side sweeping. It's easy to grow. Fringes are more predominant for people that have high foreheads. It's actually best for them. People that have eyes. Here's your easy selling point. Whenever you want to bring out the upper third of their eyes, the upper third of their face, fringes will bring that out. That's where the focal point goes to. So if that's the focal point, you talk them into a fringe. You suggest to them, excuse me, you don't talk anybody into anything. You suggest to them why you would see them wearing a fringe. Okay? One thing though, most people are scared of fringes because their mom used to cut them too what? Short. Okay? And they're the worst thing to grow out. So it's all fringes are also based upon the personality. So it's the personality that's going to sell a fringe. If I'm talking about fine hair, and we talked about how you could go in and conceal or hide an irregular hairline, what you're going to do is take Shades EQ Conditioning Color Gloss, take a slice underneath that fringe, color it 2 shades darker, bring their natural color level over that. Now there's a shadow of depth underneath that makes your fringe look thicker. Because fringes are getting thicker. They're getting what? Thicker. They're getting thicker and bolder. They're not piecey. Okay? For a while, people were starting to wear them, but they were short little ones, but they were thick. Now they're getting longer. Does that help you out, Katie, to sell them? Okay? So it's very easy to know something, but in order as hairdressers, we have to be able to communicate it to sell it. Okay? So why don't sell? This is not selling. The fringe would look sexy on you. Sorry, it doesn't work. Okay? The fringe, you need to wear a fringe. I'm going to suggest a fringe so that we take away the elongation of your face. So when I look at you, it's elongated. I did not say you have a long face. Did that make sense? Okay? If I have a face shape that is horizontal or round, and the path of my eye does this, listen to Sam, the strong path of your eye does this, then the type of fringe you want to cut is this, where it is shorter in the center and longer on the outside. Why? Because it's shorter in the center, you just elongated this. Did that make sense, guys? Okay? If the face is narrow, it's what? Narrow. Now, think of the 2 opposite lines. What are the 2 opposite lines here? You have vertical, so what's the next? Horizontal. What's the other one? Diagonal. So you're either going to go side sweeping, so the path of the eye does this, or you're going to go heavy and open it up, so the path of the eye does that. Does that make sense? Yes. So what's my selling point right now? What's my discussion, my friends out there? That's selling the fringe. It's how I'm communicating face shapes. I'm giving them the why. I'm not telling them it's going to look sexy, it's going to look great on you. We need to communicate more than that and give them the why because of the canvas. Let me say this. You're an artist. This is your canvas, and this is the fabric you use to complement the canvas. So we can mold and shape this to complement anything, guys. You remember that. You have that knowledge to do that, and we just discussed that and how we would relate it with fringes. Everybody cool? Yeah. If I have a heart shape, have what kind? Heart. Look at this. It's wide here and narrow down here. What kind of fringe do you think is going to work best?
Straight. The angle?
Diagonal.
Yeah, diagonal. Diagonal. So I'm going to go more side sweeping. If I've got a square face, what kind of face? Square. Asymmetrical. Shorter on one side, longer on the other. Did that make sense? Yeah. Look at the lines. What's the powerful lines? Horizontal and what? Vertical. What's going to be the complementary line that's going to counter that? Diagonal. Did that make sense? Yeah. How many of you learned something in this conversation? Awesome. How many of you out there learned something in this conversation? That's what's so great about the Aspire Tour, my friends. You're not learning just a haircut. We're having a conversation of ideas and facts and stats that are going to help to make you successful behind the chair. Cool with that? Say you're cool with that out there. All right, that's what I wanted to hear. Now, let's go back to learning. So we'll let this client go sit over here. Okay, and now we're going to go back to another one. And what I want to do is, I really want you to know that fringes are hot right now. You're going to have clients wanting their fringes cut. So now we're going to go to the second pattern that we just did. This one has a little bit more of a rock and roll feel to it. On this one, we're going to go in and we're going to create a wide fringe. But I'm going to share with you, how do I create a wide fringe that's not square? I want a fringe that's going to wrap around the head. Did that make sense, guys? Okay, so what we're going to look for is we're going to widen this one. So we're going to go just slightly beyond the corner of the eye. So I'm looking to see if I cut that in the fringe, always take what you're going to cut away and then comb this down. You see that, guys? Comb this down. So you see, how does that sit in relation to what I'm going to cut? Visualize your fringe. That's good. So take this back, and I know that this side is going to go there. Let's go the opposite side. Legs what? Up, legs up. Okay, now let's go the opposite side. On the opposite side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to comb the hair in its NFP, which is what, Lori?
Natural falling position.
Natural falling position. If you're not familiar with natural falling position, then you need to go to the Recutting Exchange, and you need to take a class called Cut Know Why. I highly recommend also you check out chrisbarron.com and you take a look at Fuel for Finishing and Fuel for Design. Fuel for Design will give you all of the why behind why we do what we do. It's important you understand that. Not only that, if you're a salon owner, you need to have fuel for finishing, fuel for design. Why? Because all the manuals are in it, all the training program is in that DVD that helps you to train. It sets up an associate program for you to train your associates in the salon. Highly recommend that. Check out chrisbarron.com. Let's go to the right side. So we come right to the corner of the eye. We push up. Now look at what I'm doing. I'm letting to see how does that fall in relation to this. Looks like it falls pretty good. So I'm liking where that sits. You see how I determined this? That's why you want to cut these dry and you want to blow dry them in their natural falling position. Okay, so we come through and the clip goes in, legs up. Okay, now we're ready to cut this. We're going to divide this down the center. Now take a look at this. Most time people cut fringes straight across. When you cut straight across, look at the head shape. The head shape, what the head shape does is it does this. So when I cut a line that's straight, you're going to be too long here. Now you're coming back in and you're cutting the corners off. Watch what Sammy's going to teach you. Who's going to teach you? Sammy. That's right. So we're going to come in and we're going to take, once again, close your eyes. Okay, we're going to come in, shear goes in, we lift underneath. Now my comb, the white teeth, is going to be placed flat to this bevel. See that? So I'm not like this because it's not a box. It's a round head. It's not a what? Box. So watch, watch, watch. Eyes here. Oh my, I'm excited. Okay, check it out. We are not cutting this. Okay, it's not a box, is it? It is what? Round, round, round. So we have to understand that I can't take my comb and just place it straight across and cut a straight line. So I need to go in and understand, look at the comb. It's flat from that point to that point. That's the position of my hand, or in this particular case, our comb. Okay, so we go in, same principle, same idea now how it works. Comb go in under, it's placed what? Flat. Now the shear goes on top, it pushes the hair into the teeth. That sets up my elevation. Now my comb comes down, what color of comb? White. Why? Because the hair is dark. Okay, if I'm working with a blonde, I'd be using a dark comb. I've got that fringe placed right onto her eye. I come in and I cut. Now watch this. Watch this fringe wrap around that corner. See that? So there's no length of corner for me to take off. If anything's going to be long, it's going to be the what? Center. Now all I do is take off just the corner in the center. It's an easier corner for me to cut than it is for me to recut two corners. Oh, I'm getting excited. Watch this. Check this out. All right, here. Go to this side now. Okay, watch this. Get this out of the way. Okay, legs up, captures that, captures that. Okay, now we're ready here. Now we come in. Now watch what I need to do. I need to pick up some of what I cut. Can you see that? Yes or no? Yes. Okay, my white teeth of the comb comes in and I capture the hair. Now I use my comb, I pull it down, I turn. Can you see what I just did? Yes. Now I'm going to look inside and see if I'm right on her eyebrow. So I'm right on her eyebrow, I push in, and I don't need to hold it in my hand. I got all the proper tension with my comb. And I release. Now I'm going to go in and look how it's wrapping. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to come in and clean what I need to clean. There's that corner. I push. There's the corner. Look at the corner. Okay, push. There's the corner. So I take all of this off. Look how my shear is flushed up to the comb. Watch this. The comb's not there and I'm not down here. I'm using the comb as my means of determining that guide. Now watch this. Now look how this fringe awakened this haircut. And what's so cool about this is this one has more of a rock feel to it. Watch. When I start doing this, look at this is what I'm talking about, glamorous grunge. G-L-U-N-G-E, glamorous grunge. It's almost like you look at the finisher like you don't know, you love it, it's got some glamour and some grunge to it, and you love it, and you're kind of like, how'd they do that? That kind of feeling to it. But that, to me, gives that a really, really nice shape in terms of anything you miss, pull it out. Okay, just kidding, just kidding. All right, cool? Here we are with Brittany. Now we're going to go in, and Brittany's going to cut out a fringe that is triangular and tilted. Okay, so this is a cutout fringe. Now let's take a look at her sectioning. With her sectioning, what we want to do is look at the gap I have inside here. So I want to find out, why is that gap happening? Oh my, isn't that interesting? She has alopecia accidentia. Okay, so that's an issue right there. So let's take a look at your comb, and let's find that part, good, the side part. Let's take a look and see how this falls. See if that falls properly. Oh, that's nice. Good section there. Now, how far back do we want to go?
1 inch.
Okay, do that for me. Okay, do that 1 inch. Good, okay, good. Now, where do we draw to?
Corner of the eye.
Corner of the eye. Go to the corner of the eye. Okay, good. Now, what do? Now we start to examine what's working, what's not working with that once we got that section. So what do you mean, Sam? So let's see what's happening. Nice, we filled in the gap a little bit. See how that needs to be in the fringe. Why? Because that's going to fall in her eye, isn't it? Now let's take a look at this. If I blow dry this like this, oh, I got some of that falling in her eye, don't I? So where does it fall in her eye? Looks like it's falling back in there, right? So what that point of reference is good. What needs to go into it? Right there. Did you see that? So it was so cool that you examine these things in their natural falling position before you cut them, or you get yourself in trouble. You know, then they're like, well, I got this hair falling over my eye. Okay, nice. Oh, I love the way you're checking that. Now you're understanding it, Brittany. Okay, so let's clip that, legs up. All right, now you're ready to cut. You go in and cut. What happens first? Ask the client. Good, client closes her eyes. And her head's in an upright position. Shear slides underneath. Brittany comes in with the white teeth of the comb. Now, don't over elevate that, don't over comb it.
Okay.
All I want you to do is lift, slide your comb underneath, and keep it flat. Okay, now before you turn that comb, what needs to happen? Shear goes on top of that. Good, on top of the teeth. There, good, on the other side, good. Okay, now tap it all the way down into the spine of the comb. Okay, now turn your comb and follow your shear down to the length that you want. Good, good. Make sure you got a nice horizontal line. Good. Now remember what Sam taught you. Open up your body, even when you're going after that fringe. Now go after it.
Okay.
Good. Stay nice and horizontal with it. Good. Off you go. Good. Nice. Good. Oh, nice. Nice. Okay, now, take a look at it. So what happened with it? Looks like it was slightly angled like this, so you got to watch that angle. So now slide that shear back underneath, all the way across. Good. And comb comes in flat, and shear on top, and turn. Now watch how she's going to see the line. Take a look at this. Look at that. Okay, now keep coming down, flush. There it is. See what needs to come off. Did you see what went to the spine and what did? Cut that. Awesome. Beautiful. Now watch that little bit, that angle, just fixed it. Okay, good job. Now what's happening here, Sam? This is your blow dry. This is what I'm talking about. This is how clients lift it, like this, and that's why it comes out like that. They need to learn to keep this flat and softly bevel it.
Okay.
Give Brittany a round of applause. Good job. Now you go after your length.
Okay.
Okay, what's your length going to be? Did we
I'm
determine?
gonna do a bob.
Okay, go after your bob length. So what do you mean, Sam? I'm going to go after a bob. What you're going to do is you're going to come in. Check this out now. Okay. So I want to share with you how you can get variations of looks out of this whole, call it a pattern, call it cutouts, whatever you want. It's all been about triangles today, triangular cutouts. So what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to take this one to a bob length. So I'm going to come right up, way up to this. And I'm going to put my hand here, and I'm going to notch right into that. This season, we are seeing bobs that are choppier. Stop making them so straight and so geometric. Make them look a sense of geometric, but they got a nice choppiness, a sense of choppiness going on. Go into that now. All right, here we are with Jacqueline. So now we're going to cut a full fringe. We're giving them different types of fringes for you to work with. Triangular cutout, and now a triangle full cutout fringe. Okay, so what's the first thing we need to do? Let's check your sectioning and see how well you did. She's got a triangle section. A little concerned about this guy right there. Let's see how that fits. Look how your fringe is going to have a gap.
Okay.
See that? So let's take a look at it, and let's comb this down in its natural fall. So come over right over my right shoulder, okay, and we're going to comb that down, natural fall. Okay, see that? See what I just did? See how some of this hair is leaning right there?
Right.
See that? Now let's take a look at this. That piece wants to come in.
Okay.
You see that? Now look how nice and natural. Now let's take a look at that. See that? How it's gathered a little bit more. Okay, good. So you always examine that. So let's take this one and legs up. Okay, now let's check this side. Okay, so we're gonna check this side now. How does this fit? Oh, nice job on this one. I love that. So this one's good. Now you're ready to cut. So what's the first section we need to take on this? What kind of section?
A center parting.
Good, so take your center parting now. Okay, good. And now what's the concept? You want to square the comb to the what?
To where, well, say that again?
To that, you want to square the comb to what? What are you going to square it to? That particular section.
Okay.
So what you're going to do is you don't need to apologize. You're learning, my dear. So square your body to that small triangle. Did you see what I just did with you, Jacqueline?
Yes.
Now your comb is in the proper position. If you're here, square to the head, you're going to take your comb and you're going to bring it out. Can you see you just elevated that out and over-directed that? Yeah. Now that's why you get a little corner here. All right, back to some serious learning. Okay, close their eyes. Ask the client, close their eyes. Do not lift with your hand.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, why? Because once you start lifting with your hand, we start giving it elevation. Now your fringes start to look choppy. Okay, okay, good. Now you're lifting. Watch what I'm going to do. Shear goes. You don't need to apologize. You're learning. You go in, keep it nice and flat. Lift enough to slide your comb underneath. Good. Now release. Now shear comes up on top. Now turn. Now you're going to cut. Okay, now you do that, all of that on your own. Off you go. Shear goes in, her comb comes underneath, wide teeth of the comb, critical, less tension. Okay, she taps into the spine, she takes the length where she wants to. Now there she won't be able to see. Bring it back up a little bit so she can see. Good, now do it again, start again. Okay, yep, you move it so it's comfortable for you. Okay, off you go. There, underneath, and tap and turn. Good, and slide to where you want it. Keep it nice and square. And keep it flat. Good. Now you're ready. Go after it. Shear goes flush all the way up to the spine of the comb. Beautiful. Okay. Go back and get it. Go back and get it. You're not going to cut her. Why? Because the hair is captured in the teeth of the comb. Did that make sense, my friends? So it's much easier to cut this. When you do this, you got certain tension in certain areas, and you got gap in certain areas. Oh, nice. Now go to your other one. Nice. Woo, Jacqueline. All right, here we go. Underneath, pick up some of what you cut. Pick up a little bit more, good. Comb slides underneath, be gentle and soft. Underneath, good. Wide teeth, turn, up. You didn't put your comb, there we go, scissor. See your line, and cut. Great job. Don't angle that comb, I guarantee you right now, cut, cut. I guarantee you that right side's shorter. Why? Did you see how she just tilted her comb slightly? Slightest tilt and watch what happens. You alter the line slightly. Okay, now before you cut that, what would we suggest we do? So before you cut that, what you're going to do, bevel that with your flat iron. Okay. So you softly bevel it. You remember how we talked about, don't clamp, just softly float it over and bevel that, bevel the whole thing before you recut it. Why? So you can see where the length sits and see if it slopes at all. Here we are at Whitney's, and let's take a look at this. Whitney, awesome fringe. What do you see what's happening? Tell me you see what's happening.
This is kind of curved down.
Excellent, great. Okay, so what tells you what happened? You cut this side nicely, then when you came to this side, you just tilted down. So what's important? Watching the angle of the comb, correct? Now let's take a look. Look at this piece, how this piece kind of flops out on its own when you look at this on a profile view. Can you see that piece? There, so this piece needs to be incorporated into that fringe. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now watch what we're gonna do. So why did I have her turn to the mirror? Because when you look at here, all I see is a small picture. When I look at the mirror, I see the big picture of the fringe. Does this make sense? Yeah. So to read the balance of your fringes, look in the mirror. Stop going like this and looking here. After I cut, I immediately look in the mirror and I'm like, okay, that side's longer. Can you see? I can see it. Looking here, what do I see? I see this. I don't see the longer. Now I see it. Did that make sense? Yeah. So you go to the mirror. Okay, now let's take a look at your sectioning here. Okay? Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that. Did you see? That's telling me, I want to go in the fringe. I want to stay out. Okay, so this goes into it. Okay, now you got a second kick at the can. Follow your guide. Let's go after this area here. We're going to take a clip. Let's clip this out of the way. So Sam, every time you cut one side or a fringe, you clip it up with legs up. That's right. Because the hair could accidentally fall inside and you're putting hair inside the comb, you're going to cut it off. Okay, shear's going in. Okay, pick up some of that left of center. Keep it out. You got to go deeper that other side. Get your guide, your line. There, there. Now comb goes in. Doing great. And shear on top. Beautiful, beautiful. And she comes down. Here comes your guide. Whoop, there it is. So did you see when it just popped out of that? That's when you know to cut. That's why I'm so into using the wide teeth of the comb now. Because it's more successful than me using my hand because I can't see what I previously cut. Did that make sense, ladies? Yeah. Okay, so important. Now don't get overly aggressive. Go in, yeah, go after it, go after it. Now what do you need to do? Turn around and look in the mirror and see if you see it. Yeah, good. Now go after it. Good. Did you see? There, she could give me an aggressive yes. Here, she's guessing. Good. And up on top and fold and down. Good. Excellent. Good. Good job. That was some great learning there. Now look at how you've got that. Beautiful. Awesome. Isn't that great? Yeah. Okay. That was great. I love that. And look at that. That is just incredible. Now, guys, take a look at this. Watch this. Now, look at the texture I'm going to get out of that when I start just playing with this. See the texture I'm getting out of that? That's what's so cool. Now, watch this. When I do this, look how that looks like it's been sliced into. All kinds of things have been done to that. And it's all that is those are those zigzags, those cutout triangles in there. All right, first of all, I want you to give yourselves a great round of applause. Good job on this. Awesome job, all right? So now, let's talk about this. What I want to do is find out what were your discoveries in regards to the whole concept of cutouts. What did you discover? What were some light bulbs, some ahas that went off, okay? Yes, please, Allie.
My favorite thing is, like, the top, it's very versatile. You could kind of customize it for anyone. It's not like a certain haircut that we learned that, you know, okay, you do it this way. You can definitely customize it for, you know, different clients that have different needs.
Awesome. Give me an example. Wide side versus narrow side.
You know, you might pull it over to the narrow side if you were trying to not cut into it as much for fine hair, and that's cool. That's a nice little tip.
Awesome. Great. Give Allie a round of applause. Good job, Allie. Okay. Give me another observation. Okay, let's go to Brittany, and then I'll come up to Kristen in front. Brittany.
You know, I really like the idea of taking and doing the cutouts around the ears, so taking some of that bulk off, but it's still adding texture. You're not making a hole around the fringe area.
Awesome. So how wide is this cutout over the ear?
So it's like from the ear to right here in the corner of the eye. So
yeah, good. So it could be the base of the ear right here. So it's the width of the ear determines the width of your triangle. Then from there it goes to a narrow. What's the degree of elevation? 90 vertical straight up, and you cut it. So it's the same concept of the triangle we cut as a cutout for fine hair in the back to collapse that back. Give it up for Brittany. Great job, Brittany. Okay, we're going to move over another question that I had. Let's go to Kristen.
I really liked having fine hair myself. I know that like the sides are a big issue, so I like that you can leave them out and you don't have to always be stuck to like a facial framing or having it get too PC. Like you can have some versatility there.
Awesome. Now fine hair, I'll give you a helpful hint. If somebody wants an angle in the front for fine hair, what we're going to suggest is you bend that under and forward. It's going to make it look thicker. Okay? And then what's the little tip I gave you? With fine hair clients, what do they need to do to make it look? Yeah, so what they're doing is they're taking the fine area and they're tucking it behind to the thick area. It makes their hair look thicker. Okay, give it up for Kristen. Great job, Kristen. Okay, let's move back over here to Jacqueline.
I really liked the tips about the low density, you know, guests and then the high density guests, where having like asymmetrical haircuts help draw the eye to like a fuller side. And then with the high density, you know, shoulder length or longer, but keeping it nice and sleek. Just the different things that you can tell your guests because you know now, opposed to just not really understanding why that makes sense.
Great, great knowledge. Now, who do you share this knowledge with?
My guests.
That's right. During your guest time, while they're sitting in your chair, if they have fine hair, you go through all those points that I gave you on fine hair. That's the conversation.
I really like the point on going in and notching or chiseling into, especially with the perimeter, because I've always kind of had the idea that keeping it blunt creates a fuller effect, but I have noticed that it does spread at the bottom, and I didn't really quite get why, but I really like how that came.
Awesome, Sarah. Now, we understand that by notching into it, notch, 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 it gathers the hair. So it'll still spread, but it spreads in a gathered state rather than it spreading in a very fine, thin state. Beautiful. Notching and chiseling. Now, could I do that just around the perimeter area, or could I do that inside if I wanted to? Inside. Yeah, inside if you want to. Matter of fact, notching inside is great, rather than just cutting straight, blunt, horizontal lines. Also remember, razor is a great tool to work with fine hair to get volume and change and alter the texture of that fabric. Give it up for Sarah. Great observation, Sarah. Okay, let's go to Jill.
Something that I wanted to say that I learned a lot from was using the comb when you're doing the fringe. Normally I always keep it in my fingers thinking that I have more control over it, and what ends up happening is I end up having to take it shorter because I've pulled down the tension. So keeping it a natural fall with the comb.
Excellent.
Awesome.
What's great with the comb, what I love what you just said is no tension. You get no tension with that. That's beautiful. Thanks. Okay, another observation?
I thought it was really cool to put the product in for finer hair after it's about 80% dry to give it kind of more of a textured look, to blow the cuticle up a little more before you put the product in.
Beautiful. So when we go in and we blow dry it, are we going to use a nozzle or no nozzle?
No nozzle.
No nozzle. Why? So we
You
get
want to
more
blow
what?
the cuticle up more?
Yes, exactly. So you get more, the airflow just expands and blasts that cuticle. When it's 80% dry, what are we going to do? We're going to apply our what? Our product. We're going to apply Body Full, Aerate, thickening lotion, fatten up, abundant, all those things that we talked about for fine hair. And we're going to apply it from where to where?
Back to the front.
Back to the front. Why?
Because you have more hair back here, so you want more product in
Awesome. Give it up for Taylor. Great job. Great observation, Taylor. Okay, let's take one more observation. One more. Whitney.
What I like about this haircut is it's a double identity haircut. She can wear it in a lot of different ways. She can pull her hair back like for work and then have this come down and look like a bob. Mm-hmm. Or she can let it all hang down and do something fun.
Yep. You know what I love about this? Would you agree with me that you could wear this smooth or sleek, or you could explode this top?
Yes.
Beautiful. That in itself alone is double identity. Yes. And there's a lot of people that want to do that. One day smooth and sleek, the next day they want it big and wild. Okay? We have not been here to say what's right and to say what's wrong. But what we have been here for is this, is to not even light a fire underneath you, but light a fire within you. A fire within you that's going to give you the passion to stand behind the chair with a sense of passion, to stand behind the chair with a sense of enthusiasm. So you stand behind that chair with a sense of enthusiasm. You share with your clients all of the knowledge that you've been able to pick up. You share with them the knowledge that you've gained in the past. That's all they're looking for. They want things to be simple. It's our job to make things simple for us to do behind the chair, but also make their life simple at home when it comes to working with their hair. God bless you. Thank you so much. And for my friends out there, remember, it's all about the Aspire Tour. This one, cutouts. I challenge you to take cutouts and make it your own. See you soon, whether it's at your salon or out on the road, but it's been an honor being here in Bothell, Washington, with a great, great group of colleagues. L. Marie Hair Studio. Thank you. God bless.